Will the meeting please come to order? Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Pastor Nathan DeLima of the Madison Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's the guest of Councilmember Bill Pridemore.
Dear Father God, first of all, we want to thank you for being such an awesome God and your unlimited interest in each and every one of us. Thank you for your interest in our city, in our metro, and for each council member. Dear God, we know that tonight, as in every meeting, there's an agenda, and there might be some tough decisions to make, and that's why I'm asking, Lord, to keep providing this council with wisdom, that they can make the best decisions for our city, for each of the districts. And we ask you, Lord, in a very special way, to bless our communities. We can't be more honest than just open our hearts and let you know there's a lot of pain out there. There's a lot of needs. There's a lot of rough situations. So we ask you, Lord, to shower your love and your grace on our community. And tonight, Lord, also as individuals, each councilman, council lady, they have their families. They have their own struggles. So we ask your blessing upon each and every one of them. And once again, Lord, please bless us with your presence. We ask it in Jesus' powerful name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting of January 2nd, 2018? Without objection, the minutes of that meeting will stand approved as written. Just as a note of reference, on next meeting's agenda, there will be an amendment to the November meetings, just as a matter of notice to the public. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor. There are no messages from the mayor.
All right. Before we hop into elections and confirmations, I believe we have two presentations. Councilor Gilmore, if you want to go first.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank everyone for wearing red in celebration of the National Wear Red Day, which promotes Women's Healthy Heart Month. And I'm going to have Councilmember Allen, Councilmember Hurt, and Councilmember Dow to help me with this proclamation. But all these women behind me helped to sponsor this resolution. So do we have Betsy with us from the American Heart Association? So we have their government relations director here. So, whereas heart disease and stroke kill 1 in 3 women in the U.S., yet 80% of cardiac events may be prevented. And whereas cardiovascular diseases and stroke kill 1 woman every 80 seconds in the U.S., and whereas an estimated 44 million women in the U.S. are affected by cardiovascular diseases, whereas 90% of women have 1 or more risk factors for developing heart disease, yet only 1 in 5 women believe that their heart disease is their greatest health threat. And whereas, Councilmember Allen?
Whereas women comprise only 24% of participants in all heart-related studies, and whereas women are less likely to call 911 for themselves when experiencing symptoms of a heart attack than they are if someone else were having a heart attack, And whereas only 36% of African American women and 34% of Hispanic women know that heart disease is their greatest health threat, compared with 65% of Caucasian women. And whereas women involved with the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women movement live healthier lives, and nearly 90% have made at least one healthy behavior change. And whereas Go Red for Women encourages women to take charge of their health and schedule a well woman visit to learn about health status and risk for diseases. And whereas Go Red for Women is asking all Americans to go red by wearing red and speaking red. And whereas Go Red for Women encourages women to take control of their heart health by taking the following actions.
Number 1, get your numbers. Ask your doctor to check your blood pressure, cholesterol, and glucose. Own your lifestyle. Stop smoking. Lose weight. Be physically active and eat healthy. Number 3, raise your voice. Advocate for more women-related research and education. Number 4, educate your family. Make healthy food choices for you and your family. Teach your kids the importance of staying active. And number 5, donate. Show your support with a donation of time or money.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Section 1, the Metro Council hereby goes on record as recognizing the importance, the ongoing fight against heart disease and stroke, and do hereby proclaim Friday, February the 2nd, 2018, to be National Wear Red in Nashville and Davidson County, Tennessee, thereby urging all citizens to show their support for women and fight against heart disease by commemorating this day by wearing the color red. By increasing awareness, speaking up about heart disease, and empowering women to reduce their risk for cardiovascular diseases and stroke, we can save thousands of lives each year. The Metropolitan Council Office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to the Greater Southeast Affiliate of the American Heart Association. The resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County requiring it. And this is introduced and signed by several of our women caucus members of the Metropolitan Council. And I want to present this to you.
Hello, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the American Heart Association. I am a heart disease survivor. I had a heart attack when I was 34 years old. My main reason why I was not taking my high blood pressure medication, nor was I eating correctly. So I want to leave that with you. Take care of yourselves. Live a heart healthy life like I do now. For our children, for our lives. As women, we take care of our family before we take care of our children. So we take care of ourselves. So just please take that with you. Always go know your numbers. Go to the doctor. Get your well-being visits, and just be awesome in your own health care and be your own advocate too. So thank you so much.
And on behalf of the American Heart Association, thank you all so much for your support and recognition of this important day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate you participating.
Councilman O'Connell, you're next.
Please stay with us. Yeah.
Look, I've got this has been there.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be joined by Gary Levy, who is the new general manager of the Ryman Auditorium, which celebrated its 125 years in Nashville. So we did a resolution right at the end of the year. Obviously, we have had some scheduling issues over the course of this year, including last week's snow day. We were unable to get a performance for this, but I'm excited to honor the Ryman Auditorium. So we'll read through this and give Gary a moment to say something on behalf of the Ryman. So this is a resolution recognizing the Ryman Auditorium, the mother church of country music, and its 125 years in Nashville as Music City's most famous and respected music venue, attracting hundreds of thousands of visitors to Nashville each year. Whereas on May 10th, 1885, Captain Thomas G. Ryman attended the Sam Jones tent revival held in Nashville, and after being converted that day, he promised Reverend Jones he would build a tabernacle for him and others which could hold thousands indoors. And whereas in 1892, Tom Ryman opened the Union Gospel Tabernacle on Fifth Avenue, a massive brick building which was the largest auditorium south of the Ohio River and was open to all religions and all people to hear the top ministers and speakers of the day. And whereas during Captain Ryman's funeral on Christmas Day 1904, Reverend Sam Jones at the end of his eulogy asked 4,000 people in attendance who wished the name of the tabernacle be changed to the Ryman Auditorium to stand. Everyone rose from the wooden pews, and the building has been known as the Ryman Auditorium ever since. And
Whereas, since the 19th century, the Ryman has been known for its extraordinary acoustics, which famous musicians and fans still marvel at today. And whereas, in 1904, Lula Naff moved to Nashville to begin her work at the Ryman, which spanned over 50 years until her retirement as general manager in 1955. And whereas, Lula Naff booked some of the most famous speakers and acts of the day at the Ryman, including President Teddy Roosevelt, President William H. Taft, Caruso, John McCormick, Bob Hope, Nat King Cole, Houdini, Will Rogers, Bessie Smith, Helen Keller, and hundreds of other famous acts and performances. And whereas on June 5th, 1943, the world's oldest and most famous radio show, the Grand Ole Opry, began a 31-year run at the Ryman, where country music fans from all over the world saw Opry members Hank Williams, Roy Acuff, Minnie Pearl, Patsy Cline, Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, George Jones, Charlie Pride, Little Jimmy Dickens, Loretta Lynn, and many others on the Ryman stage. And
whereas, when the Opry moved to its new home in 1974, the Ryman was at risk of being torn down by its previous owner, but musicians, politicians, and preservation-minded Nashvillians all spoke out to save the historic building. And whereas from 1974 to 1994, the Ryman sat empty, except for daily tours and a few tapings. And
we've got more, so come on. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right. All right, whereas the Ryman has been used for taping many popular television shows and movies, including The Johnny Cash Show, Coal Miner's Daughter, American Idol, and the CMT show Nashville, and whereas in 1994, the Ryman received its first major restoration of $8 million, including air conditioning, restoring the building, creating a new backstage area and dressing rooms, and a large addition to create a new lobby with restrooms, offices, and a retail shop, that year, the Ryman reopened as a music venue. And whereas Ryman Hospitality's Properties Chairman and CEO Colin Reed announced on the Ryman stage in 2014 that due to the popularity of the venue in downtown Nashville, the Ryman would receive a $14 million renovation, Reed said the 1994 lobby and retail area would be remodeled and expanded to improve the visitor's experience with a new restaurant added named after Lula Naff, a room which seats 100 to show a new Ryman history video called The Soul of Nashville, and the concession areas, bathrooms, and retail shop would improve and be expanded. And whereas the Ryman Auditorium has been named Theater of the Year 8 times by Pollstar, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing the Ryman Auditorium, the mother church of country music in its 125 years in Nashville as Music City's most famous and respected music venue. The Metropolitan Council office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to Sally Williams, or Gary, General Manager of the Ryman Auditorium and the Grand Ole Opry, and this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County requiring it. So, Gary, congratulations.
I would truly like to thank the entire Metro Council. As most of you know, the Ryman Auditorium is a very special place. I'll never forget, although I am new to the position, I have been at the Ryman for almost 10 years. And it was about 10 years ago when we moved up here. I had my daughter with me who was 2 years old at the time, and we were standing backstage getting ready for an award show. And the songwriter, Paul Williams, was the host of the show. And I'll never forget that he sang Rainbow Connection to my 2-year-old daughter that night. And I knew that at that time I was in a very magical place. We try to uphold the standards that is expected of us as trying to be the crown jewel of Nashville. And again, we appreciate everyone's support, and this comes wholeheartedly from the staff at the Ryman Auditorium, from the people at Ryman Hospitality, and from the hundreds of thousands of guests that come and visit us each year. Again, we'd like to thank the huge support from the city of Nashville.
Thank you, everyone. That brings us to elections and confirmations. Council Lady Haywood is a report from the Elections and Confirmations Committee.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. We had one candidate, and that is Amanda Kelly for the Board of Community Corrections. That's their advisory board, and we took it to a vote, and we voted 7-4 and 0 against, and I call for a confirmation.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Amanda Kelly to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council Lady Haywood.
You're welcome.
Normally, we have more than one confirmee, but tonight we only have one. So, Ms. Kelly, if you would stand, we would like to acknowledge your willingness to serve and on behalf of the Metro Council, the citizens of Davidson County. We would like to say thank you and offer our appreciation. That brings us to the consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda tonight. RS 2018-1009, 1010, and 1012 through 1020. Do any of those items need to be taken off the consent agenda? Let me read it first. So if you bear with me, the following items are on the consent agenda. RS 2018-1009, Council Lady Vercher authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Maria Guillen Chavez against Metro in the amount of $20,000. RS 2018-1010, Vercher, Bednan, and Van Reese approves a discretionary grant from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee to the Mayor's Office of Resilience to support the ongoing efforts of the Nashville Financial Empowerment Center. RS 2018-1012, Vercher and Gilmore approves a grant from the Association of Food and Drug Officials to the Metro Board of Health to provide training to staff members to enhance conformance with voluntary National Retail Food Regulatory Program standards. RS 2018-1013, Vercher and Gilmore approves a grant from the Association of Food and Drug Officials to the Metro Board of Health to fund travel expenses for health department staff to attend food environmentalist training. RS 2018-1014, Council Lady Gilmore approves a detail for the Public Health Associate Program between Metro Board of Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to provide an associate to assist public health agencies in developing, implementing, and evaluating public health programs. RS 2018-1015, Vercher and Withers approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development and the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide support and delivery of supplemental nutritional assistance program employment and training. RS 2018-1016, O'Connell, Bednay, and Elrod authorizes Urban Nashville Robertson Building, LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 1018 7th Avenue North. RS 2018-1017, O'Connell, Bednay, and Elrod authorizes Nada Group, LLC, Nada Nashville, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 204th 204, 21st Avenue South. RS 2018-1018, Councilman O'Connell, Bedney, and Elrod authorizes Boot Barn Holdings Incorporated to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 318 and 320 Broadway. RS 2018-1019, O'Connell, Elrod, and Bedney authorizes Deerfield Hospitality Group, LLC, to construct, install an aerial encroachment at 111 17th Avenue South. And RS 2018-1020. Council Lady Allen, Gilmore, and others recognizes January 16th, 2018 as the National Day of Racial Healing. Committee reports. Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval for RS 2018-1009, RS 2018-1010, 840 against, RS 2018-1012, RS 2018-1013, RS 2018-1015. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 940 against.
Council Lady Gilmore, Health, Hospitals, and Social Services.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee recommended Resolution 2018-1012, 6-4, 0 against. Resolution 2018-1013 recommended 6-4 approval. And Resolution 2018-1014, it was recommended 6-4 approval and none against.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Withers, Personnel, Public Information, Human Relations, and Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Personnel, Public Information, Human Relations, and Housing Committee met this afternoon, and we considered Resolution RS 2018-1015, and our committee recommended approval 4-4, 0 against, 0 abstaining.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Elrod, Councilman Bedney, Planning, Zoning, and Historical. Councilman Bedney.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. Well, the recommendations are as follows. For RS 1016, recommendation was to approve 13-4, 0 against. For 1017 was to approve 13-4, 0 against. For 1019 was to approve 13-4, 0 against. And that's it.
Sorry. 1018, was there one, Councilman?
1018, yeah, it was 13-4, 0 against.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Elrod, Public Works.
Public Works recommended approval of resolutions 1016, 17, 18, and 19. See 6 in favor, 0 against.
Councilor Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Resolution 2018-1020, we voted 8-4 and 0 against.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve consent agenda as properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us back to RS 2018-1011. Council Lady Vercher approves a community food projects competitive grant from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture to the Office of the Mayor to offer greater access to fresh fruits and vegetables to insecure patients through the Nashville Fruit and Vegetable RX, or prescription program, let's call it. Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe this is to be withdrawn.
Let's get a do you have a committee report from Budget and Finance?
I do. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 8-4, 0 against. Now move for it to be withdrawn.
Without that, RS 2018-1011 is withdrawn. Councilman Elrod.
I move for introduction of a resolution, late filed resolution, please.
There's a motion to suspend the rules to allow for a late filed resolution. Is there objection? Seeing no objection, RS 2018-1021, Councilman Elrod approves an amendment to a contract between the Department of Public Works and Nature's Best Organics, and by assigning the contract to Living Earth. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Haywood. This late resolution, is that bill? With the rules?
Yes, pardon me, Vice Mayor. Yes, there was a late resolution, and we took it to a vote, and we voted to approve the late resolution 8-0.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is a housekeeping resolution from the Department of Public Works. Nature's Best Organics has a contract with Public Works, and they are being bought by Living Earth, and this resolution is simply a housekeeping matter that just assigns the contract from Nature's Best Organics to Living Earth, so they'll take it over. It does not change any of the terms whatsoever of the contract, and I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Allen, I'm about to take up bills on introduction and first reading. Is there one you'd like to pull?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to pull BL 2018-1056, please, sir.
All right. Is there objection to taking all bills on introduction and first reading except for BL 2018-1056, Councilor Allen, in one vote? Seeing no objection, is there a motion? Motion to approve all bills on introduction and first reading except for 1056, properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2018-1056, Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr.
An ordinance to amend Title 6 of the Metropolitan Code, zoning regulations pertaining to online marketplace of short-term rental properties. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move to defer to the first meeting in March.
There's a motion to defer to the first meeting in March. March is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That brings us to bills on second reading. BL 2017-941, Councilor Allen. Amends the Metro Code to establish a commercial permit parking program. Councilor Allen.
I'm on a roll here, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for deferral after committee reports, please.
Councilman Hager.
Traffic and parking, moved to defer one meeting, 4-0.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Allen.
I'd like to move for one meeting deferral, please.
Motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-951, Councilman Scott Davis. Amends the Metro Code to establish a community oversight board responsible for providing citizen oversight over officers of the Metropolitan Police Department in certain instances. Before I recognize Councilman Davis, I'll remind the council that this bill was deferred indefinitely by committee. Councilman Davis has requested it be back on the agenda pursuant to Rule 35, is it 24? Councilman Davis will be recognized, and then either the chair of each committee that deferred indefinitely or their designee will be allowed to speak. Each party will be given 4 minutes, and then we will have a vote. There'll be no further debate. If it is approved today, it will be back on the agenda on second reading again at the subsequent meeting. Councilman, so before we vote, I'll come back and explain that again. But that's the general gist of it. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm asking to put the COB back on the agenda so we can talk about it in the personnel. This is my intent. Every time that I've told you I'm going to defer something to a certain date, I've either deferred it to that date or I deferred it beyond. Unfortunately, a lot of us were sick and coming off of the flu during the last couple of weeks in December and beginning in January. And, sometimes things happen. People have to miss days of meetings not to infect their colleagues. But what I'm telling you, and once again, every time I've told you I'm going to defer something, and I either defer it to that date or I defer it beyond. I don't sneak anything up on you. I need it back on our agenda so we can set the public hearing for the first meeting in April so we can get notices. And we want at least 2 months for the task force to work together to come up maybe with a compromise or offer some solutions. And on that task force, I'm asking, for the council, that was in my resolution earlier, bring back my resolution, which puts appointees from the council and from the mayor's office on there. And also, we're making a tweak. We are asking that the FOP representative be the co-chair with the co-chair from the committee. So you have both law enforcement and the community working together. Now, I know some people have heard that they feel like this bill, is anti-personnel. It's not. It's pro-people. And one thing that I'm going to be reaching out to, I'm going to be asking, the YWCA and other advocate groups, because what's been going on in the city, and it's not law enforcement's fault. I feel it's the whole community issue, with potential issues with women being harassed by law enforcement. And once again, I will restate, 95% of our law enforcement are great. Our chief has done a great job. When I had an issue with a park police officer, the chief came to my rescue. And that officer was disciplined. And I thank him for that. But right now, there are issues that that we know that the police may not know about and that the community needs to be made more aware. And the effort is to bring the community and our law enforcement together. Because I pray every night, just like with a lot of you, that we don't have any issues with blue on black shootings or beatings or other things. And we don't. And so we are the model. We could be the city that has the perfect model to make this work. Because we got the best law enforcement and we have the best community in America. So allow me to bring this back to personnel, to set the meeting date for our public hearing in April, giving the task force 2 months to work together. That's FLP, that's represented from the mayor's office, there's people from the community, NOAA, Democracy Now!, and a lot of other groups. And right now, I am reaching out, to my fellow law enforcement on this body, or former law enforcement on this body, to be one of the representatives from the council, and also to help me reach out, to other people that need to be involved so we can get the answers we need. But the community has to be working together with law enforcement. And law enforcement needs to continue to listen to the community and help address those issues. Because there are a lot of individuals out there that are afraid and their blood pressure goes up when those lights hit the back of their car. So I will sit down now. I just want to thank my colleagues for the time. And please let us allow to set this public hearing in April, first meeting in April, and bring this next week or 2 weeks from now to the Personnel Committee. So thank you.
Councilman Pardue.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm hoping I don't need 4 minutes. The man just stood up and said what a great job police department's doing in Nashville. And it's not just him. Vanderbilt University did a study that, I hate to say it, but the council was involved in the study too. The trustworthiness of Metro Police Department in Davidson County is 80%. Council didn't get that high. But and even in the minority neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods, they at 63%. This city don't have no problem, and we're trying to make one. The room back here is full of people that I'm telling you, I'd lay down and die for, simply because I know what they're made out of. You go back just a short while ago, and we had officers at the Madison precinct prove they'll jump in the damn river for you. How we can let something like this get by us is way beyond Big Dookie. I don't understand it. And if you want to talk about oversight, these guys' oversight starts 6 months before they get hired with a strenuous background check. They do 26 weeks in police academy where they study every everything that needs to be studied in police work. Probably one of the best academies in the country. When they come out of the academy, they go to work under a field training officer. They stay with them for 6 months. You know, they leave that and then go into their regular patrol work where they have 5 sets of supervisory oversight. You know, a patrol officer's got a sergeant, a lieutenant, commander, deputy chief, and chief of police. They stay in that for 6 months. Then they come out and get their own car. Well, that's nice. And it's equipped with a GPS that they can tell every minute of the day when he's stopped, when he's moving, when he's got his lights on, or when he's got his siren on. And they have people that check those. And if they're wrong, and at the end of the day, they have to do a report that matches that GPS. If they're wrong, they get punished for it. And for anybody to tell you that the Metro Police Department is shy about punishing you, you can call them a damn liar. I've been there. I just ask that we use common sense on this. This is a bad bill to start with, and it should be done away with here tonight. There's so much to say about it. I've got stuff wrote down that I can't even keep up with. You know, and you talk, every bill that comes around here, we talk about involving stakeholders. The sponsor of this bill tonight even stood up here and said that's what he's trying to do. Well, this bill's been going on since early December, and no stakeholders has been notified of nothing. Nobody's gone to the police department and asked any kind of advice or let them give any kind of input on this bill. And we talk about a task force. If there is a task force, I hadn't heard of it. I've heard plans of one in the future, and I may be wrong, but I've not been asked to be on the task force. The closest to that is, well, I'm thinking about asking you and Pridemore to be on it. I don't want to be on it. I just think it's time that we show these people some appreciation. As the sponsor even said, the police chief does a great job. The officers, and 95% of the officers in this town does a great job. Well, let's don't let 1 or 2% or 1/10 of 1% ruin our police department. You know, you got these Antifa guys out there. Thank you.
Councilman Withers. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Personnel Committee met on this issue, this bill, and voted unanimously for an indefinite deferral of the ordinance. Everyone in this city is aware of the concerns that we've had with regard to police-community relations, particularly in certain communities, certain demographic communities, and certain geographic communities in Nashville. We all recall the public hearing that Vice Mayor Briley allowed to take place, which was a wise decision earlier in our council term, and we all take those concerns seriously. I know that we all do. Nevertheless, the Personnel Committee is in charge of reviewing personnel policies. As the District 6 council member speaking for myself, I'm acutely aware of, and I'm sympathetic to the concerns that some of our community members have had, particularly in District 6 in the Casey area, with regard to policing. Most of what I hear from Casey residents is that they want additional police protection in their area. They do have some critiques of that police protection sometimes, and I have found that I have been able to work with the East Precinct commander and staff to address those concerns in many cases, and perhaps it's the case that not everyone has such a great relationship as I enjoy with the East Precinct. But nevertheless, as the Personnel Committee Chair, I also must point out that all Metro employees deserve to have a fair and transparent set of expectations for what their responsibilities are and how they will be evaluated and how their performance will be evaluated for improvement, whether that be disciplinary or additional training. I believe that we actually have that. There may be some additional areas that we can talk about, but we do have that in place. Metro police officers are workers, they are employees, and they have a right to due process that includes, but is not limited to, civil service procedures. Instituting a board that purports or is even perceived to second-guess civil service procedures for employees of the Metro Nashville Police Department opens the door to undermining civil service protections and procedures for all Metro employees who have that kind of relationship with Metro government. Furthermore, setting up an appointed board whose scope of review is undefined and whose qualifications and experience are not established is a questionable decision for Metro government to undertake as an employer. As currently stated, what I've communicated to my constituents, as currently stated, the board would be made up of folks who are elected, which means that Metro employees would be subject to an inherently political board. And I don't think that that is necessarily a wise decision to make. This legislation that is before us includes language that Attorney Jameson has indicated is legally concerning. Therefore, by moving this legislation forward at this time, we're suggesting that we are potentially in support of legislation that could lead to litigation. I fully support the dialogue that our city is undertaking about how we can increase trust and mutual respect between the men and women of the police department, our other emergency responders, and members of our community, and in particular, members of our community who have not always experienced equitable treatment and equitable outcomes from the larger criminal justice system. That's a great conversation to have, and we're undertaking that. This element of trust that we need to foster, however, has already been undermined by filing legislation that sends a message to employees that the Metro Council supports the creation of a board whose recommendations may be about their performance and continuation of employment, may be uninformed, and whose actions could be illegal. In conclusion, the very noble and well-intentioned objective of increasing public transparency and furthering trust between the police officers and the Davidson County residents who are most likely to be victims is set back by this legislation. And as the Personnel Committee Chair, I request that the sponsor defer it indefinitely or withdraw it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor, you heard Councilman Davis. No further debate is allowed. No further debate is allowed under the rule. So we'll go to the machine. As a reminder, it's essentially a motion to place it back on the February 6th agenda. It would be on second reading on the February 6th agenda. Madam Clerk, if you'll open the machines. It's simple. If you want it back on the agenda on February 6th, you're going to hit the green button. If you don't want it back on the agenda on February 6th, you're going to hit the red button. I bet you got some other buttons there too. You can pick those too. Yellow, blue, I don't know, whatever. Red and green. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine and tally the vote.
Five in favor, 25 against, 7 abstentions.
Motion fails. BL 2017-1031. Councilman Elrod, Gilmore, and others adopts a transit improvement program for Metro, approves a surcharge for the program, and requests the Davidson County Election Commission to call a countywide referendum election to be held on May 1, 2018, regarding the levying of the surcharge on certain taxes to fund the program. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please, or committee report.
I will report that the council met as a committee of the whole and recommended approval. 29 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm going to move approval and for an explanation and then amendments.
Floor is yours.
For those who don't know, this is the ordinance that would put the transit vote the Let's Move Nashville plan on the ballot on the May ballot. This is the culmination of years of work by Metro government, planners, MTA, RTA, and many groups and folks around the city. Started with Nashville Next in June 2015, in motion in September 2016, which included 20,000 engagements, many community meetings, and in that 20,000 number is 9,000 online that filled out a survey. And out of those engagements came 3 plans: a small plan, a medium plan, and then the bold plan. And overwhelmingly, once those plans were put to the public wanted the bold plan. And it was up to the administration, the mayor's office, to put together a plan, and that's what you have in front of you. It's this document, Let's Move Nashville. It is a bold plan that has greatly increased bus service at its core. More frequent stops, longer service. And in fact, nearly all over the city. It has light rail. Nashville would build a light rail system and build upon the increased bus service. To pay for it would be a sales tax surcharge of 0.5 over the first 5 years of the plan, increasing to 1% in 2023. A hotel motel tax surcharge of 0.25% for the first 5 years, increasing to 0.375 in 2023. A 20% surcharge on business excise tax, and a 20% surcharge on rental car tax. All of it to pay for a $5.3 billion plan according to present day cash value that will bring modern, updated transit that a city like Nashville, a knit city, and a city that we're going to be growing to over the next 30 years deserves. This is a generational type vote where we as a Metro Council get to put something on the ballot that we as a city get to decide. And I think Mayor Briley has stated, I think well before, that it falls in line with the original vote to become Metro government, the stadium, English only, and the big votes that we've had as a city. Now, while everyone may not agree with every aspect of the plan, this ordinance simply puts it on the ballot. And is the big step that we take as a city of whether or not we want to take that big step and pay for modern transit for Nashville. Were it to pass the May referendum, we would then have an opportunity to flesh out the plan, the $5.3 billion plan over many months and years and over a generation. But it starts tonight on second reading so that we can put it on the May 1st ballot. Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm going to procedurally, I would like to move amendment number 1 to amendment A. Do I need to move amendment A first?
Amendment 1 to amendment A is all you need to do.
I move adoption of that amendment, but I'm going to defer to Councilwoman Vercher because much of the language came from her, so I defer to Councilwoman Vercher.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, sponsor, for the privilege. In your amendment packet, you will see, I believe, this particular amendment will be under the caption of Amendment E. And the spirit of the amendment is to make sure that the descriptive language is clear and understandable for the actual voters. So in this Amendment A, you're going to see the correction as it relates to the sales tax. And you're going to see the change, the total sales tax of 10.25% to the language of an effective local option tax of 3.25%. Why that's important, because voters, you're going to be voting on that option as opposed to voting on the state tax, which is 7%. So that language just clarifies that percentage. Also, wanted to make sure that how this language appears on a ballot so that the voters can be sure that they read it in its entirety. Previous versions of the language that was to appear on the ballot, it included the cost down at the end. So just cosmetically, what this amendment does, it defines the scope of the project, and in reading, then it goes to the cost of the project, and then in the end, it tells you how the project is actually funded. Again, in the spirit of making sure that the descriptive language is clear for actual voters, and how I got to this point, I polled 50 of my constituents with the current language that we had, and many of them did not understand what was being proposed on the ballot. So in restructuring the language on the amendment, clarifying what those percentages are, I'm okay with the language as amended for the transit referendum.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other amendments that the sponsor is asking to put onto the bill?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor.
All right. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Very quickly before we start, if it's not held against my time, a little bit of clarification on what we just passed is because it is in my amendment too, was the total of 10.25% of the sales tax. That was not included. Okay. Second question, is this bill amendable on third reading?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Super. Thank you very much. In my amendment, this is on the ballot. Let's give the voters complete information. There's my amendment simply says to put in, and you have it in front of you, the actual costs of the program on page 50 of the mayor's plan, $8.952 billion, onto the ballot as well. There's no reason to hide these costs from the voting taxpayer. This is a vote for transparency. Put the total cost on the ballot. Political messaging should not overcome truth-telling. This is the cost to build the project. Page 50. It reports all the costs to get to completion. Share that with the public. Now we have to pay the $8.952 billion. That's the most important number in the whole document. It is managed to that number. If less comes in, we will have to make it up. If costs go up, we have to make it up. If federal funding doesn't come in, we will have to make it up. This is the number that you're managing the entire program to. Share that with the public. $8.952 billion. Be transparent. Give the public full information. They can take it. They've already said that they're willing to raise taxes and fully fund a big plan. We'll share with them what the number that the plan is being managed to. Put it on the ballot with no costs hidden. Now, also in my amendment was an increase, I don't know if we need to deal with this separately, to actually total the sales tax, because so many people don't quite know what our sales tax number is. Let's just be fair and transparent, and if it gets up to 10.25%, admit that it's going to get to 10.25%. People have already said that they are willing to do that, but let's fully inform them. And let's not be the council that hides costs and games the referendum language. Put both numbers in, fully inform the public, and go forward with no hidden costs to the voting taxpayer. This other number, the sources and uses, is the number that we're managing the completion of this transit plan in, and I urge for you to vote for the adoption of this amendment. It's not a change. It's not pulling it off of the referendum. It's giving you the referendum, but with complete information from a transparent council, which is why we were all sent here to do this job. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Are you moving your amendment?
I am moving my amendment.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Simple question. I'm trying to figure out why none of this is coming through committees, because there's clearly physical impact and other issues. So that's my real question is why are committees not talking about this?
To whom are you addressing the question?
I guess to yourself or to Mr. Jameson.
If you'll remember, we had a committee of the whole. That was
Which I was out of town. I was already scheduled, and I couldn't be here. Correct.
right. I felt that it was an issue of such great importance that no single committee should oversee the hearing and the exchange of information between the council and those members of the administration who came to provide information to the council. As a result, 31 people attended that meeting, and it passed. It was recommended for approval, 29, 1 and 1. I think I reported that at the beginning. Does that answer your question, sir?
Not exactly, Vice Mayor, because I appreciate the fact
I would
that you
suggest it's not a question then.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. My question is regarding the various amendments, and it is more kind of a point of order question. So I have looked through my amendment packet at Amendment A, Amendment B, Amendment C, Amendment D. The sponsor spoke on the bill, Council Lady Vercher. I thought she was making Amendment number 1 to Amendment A, but she referred to Amendment E. I would like some clarification.
Mr. Jameson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Quick summary, there were a total of 5 amendments submitted in your original packet, A, B, C, D, and E. Councilman Elrod had Amendment A, and that was amended, Amendment 1 to Amendment A. That's what was just adopted. He was inspired or influenced by Council Lady Vercher's Amendment E and adopted some language from that, essentially reordering it so costs were more up front. So it's true that it incorporates elements of Amendment E, but my understanding is now that you've adopted Amendment A to Amendment 1 to Amendment A, Council Lady Vercher will no longer be offering Amendments D or E. That leaves Councilman Cooper's B and C. One last point of clarification, Amendment B was revised. In your packet, you have original Amendment B. I believe what he's offering is the revised Amendment B, is what I understand he's moving.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jameson. So by way of clarity, I want the record to show, please, that I did not speak and vote for Amendment number 1 to Amendment A. And can you just speak to then what happens procedurally, how we are, Councilman Cooper is going to move his amendment as well, and then we're going, just talk us through that, please. I apologize.
Well, he has moved his amendment.
Okay.
We are now discussing his amendment.
Okay.
When discussion ends or somebody calls the question, we'll have a vote on his amendment. That'll be the next vote that the council has.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilman Elrod, I don't think you moved to approve you're up next, and I don't think you moved to approve the bill as amended. So if you'll start by doing that.
I move to approve the bill as amended, and I move to table the amendment for 2 reasons. There are 2 parts in Councilman Cooper's amendment. I'll do the second one first. Talks about the total cost of the transit system is 8.9, rounded up $9 million or $9 billion. Excuse me. This is not the way that we determine the price of projects. Whether it's a school, a library, a park, or a sidewalk, we always talk about current day cash value. What does it cost to build that park? What does it cost to build that sidewalk? What does it cost to build the school? We don't include, electric bills, landscaping costs, maintenance, that kind of thing, as far as, hiring janitors, that kind of thing. We always talk about the current costs, cash value, as a capital project, which is the $5.3 billion figure. So to include this number, $8.9 billion, is misleading. Because it is not an apples to apples comparison to the rest of the projects that we have in metro government. That's not how we fund schools. It's not how we measure them. It's not parks, libraries, sidewalks. We don't include those costs in how we list those. And if we want to be good stewards and try to present not just all the information, but the correct information and in a non-misleading way. This is in a misleading way because it includes costs that we do not normally include when we price projects. Second, the first change is for a total sales tax of 10.25. That number is incorrect because that is the sales tax on just some of the goods. The sales tax on food, I believe, will be 7.25. Am I right, Mr. Jameson?
Correct.
So not only is the last number misleading, but the first number is incorrect. So that is why I'm moving it to the table, is because not only the numbers are misleading and incorrect. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Cooper, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Well, the wonderful chairman of our Public Works Committee, I do disagree that the $8.9 billion is an incorrect number because can we build this for $5.3 billion? No. Can we build it for $6.6 billion? No. So we should report what we have to raise from the public to pay for this during this admittedly lengthy period of construction. And what does the discounted present day value mean to voters, to taxpayers? Where did we share the discount rate? You are gaming the voters by not laying out what your projected costs are. And if you tell me what we can build it for, let's put that number in. I am telling you what the mayor's plan says we can build it for, and I think we should put that number in. Now, if we want to, the sales tax in the version of economy to leave it at 10.25. I mean, it is 10.25. Food is exempted. There are exemptions, but it's exempted from this higher number. But I think what the whole community is interested in when you get to the referendum, and again, we'll have another bat at this on third reading, is the total cost of this. What will it cost the taxpayers? What do the revenues have to go for? And this is what we're managing the whole program to. If federal funds don't come in, we have to make that $8.9 billion up. If tax revenues go down, we have to make that number up. So report that number. The $5.3 billion number is particularly meaningless because it's not even the actual cost of the future improvements. We have discounted that back with an unknown discount rate, which is a little bit technical, I'll say. I mean, I went to business school, and I find it kind of baffling, the level of assumptions that are in this. As a transparent body, what is wrong with reporting both numbers? Both numbers. Let the people decide. And what are they going to decide? They're going to decide that golly, it's an expensive project, but they knew that already. So it's a question of respecting them and their intelligence, and that's why we were sent here, is to make the referendum language fair.
We're on a motion to table Amendment B. Amendment B, Councilman Cooper's amendment. If you want the council to be able to vote on the amendment, you're going to vote no. If you want the council not to vote on this amendment today, you're going to vote yes. Is that clear? Clear as mud, huh? If you want to vote with Councilman Cooper, you're going to vote no. If you want to vote with Councilman Elrod, you're going to vote yes. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine and tally the vote. Too late, sir.
21 in favor, 14 against, 1 abstention.
Motion carries. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to stand. I'm in support of Councilman Cooper because, again, the people did elect us to be here to take care of their needs. today I was given a packet, and this was done by the prior council. And this packet is dealing with our hospital. There was a merger. There were a lot of things that were done inside of this. We have spent a lot of money, and just by doing something to do it. I want to make sure that we do things in the right way. Right now, we're trying to clean up some things, and yes, we do need mass transit. We do. I hear it from my constituents. But again, if we do nothing and not pay attention to what the councilman is saying to us, we will be back here. Another councilman will be in my spot holding up this packet here and saying, listen, we have a mess here. And the reason that the mess happened, it wasn't the hospital, it wasn't anybody else, it was the people that are sitting here that voted to allow this thing to take place. I want you to think about that, and I want to go again on record to where I support the councilman and making sure that everything is put out there so we can do things the right way. Thank you.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I don't know if this is the appropriate moment to do this, but I would invite the administration to speak regardless of whether or not the amendment is there to the cost considerations, if there's time to do that. Thank you.
If the administration would like to say anything. All right.
So the Improve Act that the legislature approved last year includes requirements for what the ballot language must include. It's a maximum of 250 words, and regarding the financing, it must include the type and rate of the surcharge, the conditions upon which the surcharge will end, other sources of funding, and most importantly to this conversation, an estimate of the initial and recurring costs of the program. The language as amended in the bill that's before you now is consistent with that statutory language.
Councilman Shulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. So I was just checking on something, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Jamison. The amendment that we're working off of that makes the bill added a provision in the language. Initially, I think it said transit improvements and expansion will be funded by tax surcharges. The new language that we've added is transit improvement and expansion will be funded by federal grants, fare box revenues, convention center, and airport authority participation. So all that is new, but that's in the bill that we're voting on.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's what I was trying to clarify, because that's what is showing up on page 50 of the diagram. That's what's helping to make the cost for this thing. But that's new language that we're adding into this. That's actually in the proposed resolution that we're putting in front of the voters.
Right, consistent with the state legislation requiring the funding sources.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We are now speaking to the bill as amended. Is that correct?
That's fair to say.
Thank you. As it relates to the amendments and the efforts that my colleagues were making here, Council Lady Vercher and Councilman Cooper, I think Councilman Elrod said that this is misleading, and Councilman Cooper said that it's gaming. And I guess what I would ask is maybe we dial down the rhetoric a little bit around what we're trying to achieve here for our community, right? Everyone wants transparency. The elephant in the room is how much is this going to cost? So whether or not we have made the statutory or met the statutory requirements of the initial and recurring cost, I think there is merit in addressing for your voter, the end cost, right? Effectively, it's like your mortgage. And so, I support the inclusion of the 8.9 million. I think that we can, between now and third reading, arrive at language that, is in line with what the administration wants to put in, but also responds to the concerns of the community that I'm hearing from my constituents around the fiscal aspects of the plan. So I guess I would ask if we, if those, Mr. Sponsor, if we can look at, we had so many kind of amendments here and the language altered, looking at all of them to try to kind of see what the differences were. I think there would be merit in kind of having a merger of, perhaps part of what Councilman Cooper is trying to achieve, but speaking, Councilman Elrod, to your concerns, because in the end, I think we all want the same thing, right? We want the community to understand the true and actual cost of that year to year from a maintenance perspective, and just in the end, through debt service, how much is this going to cost the city in the end? So thank you.
Councilman Sledge.
Previous question.
Previous question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to, I think there will be no votes. So there is a motion to approve the bill as amended. Madam Clerk, if you would open the machine. Just to clarify again, you're voting on, this is second reading. It's been amended, and it is subject to amendment on third reading. I believe that's everyone. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine, tally the vote.
30 in favor, 6 against.
Motion carries. BL 2018-1041. Councilman O'Connell, Vercher, and others approves a lease agreement between Metro and Jocelyn Sign and Maintenance Company, Incorporated, located at 630 Murfreesboro Pike for parking purposes. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
And Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 9 for, 0 against.
Councilman Bednay.
Planning recommended approval, 13 for, 0 against.
Councilman Pardue, Public Safety.
Public Safety passed 4-0.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on third reading. BL 2016-219. Council Lady Karen Johnson. Cancel 7.84 acres of the Forest View Park planned unit development and changes from R10 to RS10. Zoning for property located at Forest View Drive unnumbered, approximately 430 feet east of Murfreesboro Pike. Council Lady Johnson.
Committee report.
Councilman Bednang.
The committee recommended to be withdrawn, 8 for, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
I move to defer to the second meeting in July.
There's a motion to defer to the second meeting in July. All in favor? Opposed? Madam Clerk, if you go to the machines. There's a motion to defer to the second meeting in July.
Yep.
I'm sorry? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's this one.
One moment. This motion to defer to the second meeting in July. Please cast your ballots, your votes. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine.
26 in favor, 6 against.
Motion carries. BL 2017-608, Councilman Hager, Roten, and others amends Metro Code to establish distinct land uses for short-term rental property owner-occupied and short-term rental property not owner-occupied, and establishing a phase-out date of 2021 for short-term rental property non-owner-occupied. Councilman Hager. I'm sorry. You're on. There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a amendment, which is
Why don't you move approval first?
move approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. Floor is yours.
I have Amendment A, which is a definition for the, clean up the definition of short-term rental. I'd ask Mr. Jameson to explain that to the council body, please.
Amendment A by Councilman Hager is, as noted, a housekeeping or technical amendment requested by the Planning Department. This would clarify the definition of owner-occupied since it occurs in other parts of the code. No substantive changes to the intent of 608 would result. This amendment would further clarify that short-term rental permits for owner-occupied units in the industrially zoned areas, IWD, IR, and IG, would be permitted as accessory uses to multifamily uses associated with manufacturing and artisan. Lastly, the amendment would slightly reformat the last section, 1716-070U1, and clarify that while short-term rental not owner-occupied is a commercial use, the district bulk regulations for single and two-family uses would apply.
So I'm moving this bill as amended.
There's a motion. Well, there's a motion to amend. Councilman O'Connell, are you seeking recognition on the amendment? There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Hager, you're on your bill as amended.
As y'all know, this has been going on for over a year. I've deferred this bill probably at least 9 times since then. This bill is for eventually phasing out non-owner occupieds in the R and RS districts, so it's a very narrow bill. In addition, as I said last night on the floor when we were doing the committee report on this bill, I indicated at that time there were a lot of people that wanted to continue to have the non-owner occupieds, and I indicated at that point in time that eventually I would file a separate bill which would create a overlay type of ordinance that where the non-owner occupieds were not causing any problems, then a person could file for an overlay and sort of like a bed and breakfast, and that'd go before planning. If there's no objection to it, then they could continue to have a non-owner occupied in the R and RS districts. This is something we all took up and everybody agreed to it, including the Neighborhood Coalition Group as well. Y'all have seen all the emails. You've gotten hundreds of emails concerning the non-owner occupied short-term rentals. This initially started out as a way for people to make some money on the side here in Nashville, but as it became quite apparent, we had a lot of out-of-state, out-of-county investors coming in and buying up these non-owner occupied and renting them out without any type of restrictions on them. As you all know, you received a letter from Chief Anderson concerning these enforcement issues, and that's been a problem all along. I went to, I think, 13 of these ad hoc meetings. I missed one meeting, and as you know, being involved in that ad hoc meeting, we tried to find some way to compromise. There just wasn't any way to compromise, and the situation is that 608 was to compromise with the short-term rental industry. We're not trying to run them out of business. We're trying to let them continue, but for the peace of our neighborhoods, especially the residential and the residential single neighborhoods, then we asked that these non-owner occupieds be phased out, and that would be over a 3-year period, basically because they could get their last permit in 2020. As y'all know, there are about 26 cities that have already phased out the non-owner occupieds. The latest one to do that was Knoxville about 2 months ago. Knoxville has passed their ordinance to phase out the non-owner occupieds from the residential and residential single areas. That's based on what's been happening here in Nashville. They saw what was occurring here. What's interesting, too, is I'm getting calls from satellite cities all around Nashville about the non-owner occupieds, and they were passing their own ordinances similar to 608 to phase out any type of non-owner occupied. What's interesting also is that a lot of council members that are not supporting this bill live in districts that have homeowners associations. Those that have homeowner associations in their district, their homeowners associations can pass their own bylaws to prevent non-owner occupied or any type of short-term rental in their district. As such, I'm asking you to pass this bill tonight, and I will allow these to continue with an overlay provision, which I'll come in afterwards. Thank you.
Councilor Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Before we consider 608 as amended, I would like to offer my amendment E. I don't think it was introduced, so my amendment.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to introduce amendment on to 608.
There's a motion to amend 608 with Amendment E. It's properly seconded. I'm sorry, D?
E.
E?
Wait a minute. On my amendment, it says E. Just amend. Yes, one says introduced by Mina Johnson. The amendment to allow one permit for single family and two family zoning. Also, second portion is if the duplex was owned by same person, it will allow one portion of the dwelling unit to live and then have another portion to do the STR. So that's the amendment I am offering on to 608.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Jameson to confirm exactly which letter we're on, just so, because there are plenty of amendments, I think, to multiple bills. Councilman, Mr. Jameson.
The packet should show Amendment D. It does contain exactly what Councilor Johnson expressed. This would limit one permit to be issued for single-family and two-family zoning districts. For the ownership of two-family dwellings, you could not divide the properties, and the two-family units would have to be owned by the same person, and that person would have to reside in one of the two units in order for the permit to be issued. It is consistent with Councilor Johnson's explanation. It is, in my packet, Amendment D as in David.
I believe it is Amendment D, Council Lady. And so there's a motion to amend 608 with Amendment D. Councilman O'Connell, Council Lady Weiner, Council Lady Hurt, are you seeking recognition on that amendment? Councilman O'Connell, no. Council Lady Hurt.
Not on the amendment, but on the bill.
Okay. All right, I'll come back to you then. Councilman Davis on the amendment. Councilman Davis.
I just want to give a quick thumbs up to this Amendment D, if that's the correct letter. Definitely had some people in my district that had this situation. I think it does clarify some things that'll help some people that have the duplex STRP situation going on. So just a thumbs up.
There's a motion to amend 608 with Amendment D. It's properly seconded. No one else seeking recognition. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Hart on the bill as amended with amendments, I believe, A and D.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I first want to thank all of those who called and emailed me regarding this, and I especially want to thank Ms. Ann and Ms. Pam. But today I am torn. I am torn because we've gone from one extreme to the other. For years, we've said that we wanted growth. We want the Titans, keep the TV show Nashville, a bigger and better CMA Fest, go Preds, and we want soccer. Can we have international flights? Yet to be the it city, you attract people. You attract lots of people who need places to stay. We say, save my neighborhood. I want to build relationships and live next to residents. Personally, I love my neighborhood. I also happen to love a neighborhood called Hope Gardens. I did my thesis on Hope Gardens, entitled From Chaos to Community. Save my neighborhood and yours. Yet the neighborhoods we want used to be homes for many people who worked all of their lives to own it. For various reasons, they can no longer afford to live there. Their taxes have increased, but their incomes have decreased. We say STRs are not a police issue, but complaints shouldn't be ignored. Then the complaints are we don't want noise, parties, profanity, drinking, drugs, and gunshots. And all of those complaints sound like police issues to me. While we certainly empathize with the neighbors who have suffered from the lack of supervision from those few owners of type 2s and the lack of effective enforcement, to penalize or paint all of those with one broad brush of indictment is extreme in my opinion. As an example of many who I have served for 30 plus years, retirees, widows, widowers, and families who depend on type 2 to survive. They believe that these were developed to be for the needy and not for the greedy. Now, one retired person that I think of in particular has carried her household for many, many years while her husband has taken care of his church and his community, taking care of people who no one else will take care of. Whosoever needs him, he's always there. And now she needs help to save herself. I cannot turn my back on those people. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And likewise, I think that negligence anywhere is a threat to comfort everywhere. Therefore, I am humbly asking that all respect my vote or lack thereof on this particular issue. Thank you.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Colleagues, tonight I rise as the member of this body with the greatest number of permitted short-term rentals in his district. As of today, there are on the order of 4,000 permitted short-term rentals. We're bringing online about that many hotel beds this year. There are more than 600,000 Nashvillians. We've heard from neighbors in neighborhoods all over Nashville concerned about this industry's intrusion into residential life in our city. Besides the fact that non-owner occupied STRs have rapidly reduced our housing supply, we ought to keep in mind the Nashvillians impacted when we unintentionally allow the houses on every side which used to belong to their neighbors to become hotels. I know my colleagues quickly and thoroughly voted down my bill that would have allowed hotels into residential zones, and I was stunned that the Planning Commission gave it effectively no consideration in terms of policy as compared with the other STR bills. But the fact of the matter is the hotels are already there. Sure, they live within the constraints of our existing STR policy, but there are multiple STR operators that fly a branded flag, own multiple properties, and essentially run them as a network of many hotels. As we've talked about this issue for many months now, I think it's important to talk about distractions. The first is affordable housing. The only way in which this is an affordable housing conversation is the way the industry in question has decimated our existing housing stock, particularly in the urban core, where affordability has diminished dramatically. Building new housing is expensive. I spoke to a developer today citing construction costs for townhomes at $300,000. How many of those will $1 million or $4 million or even a few million more dollars build? Not even close to $4,000. Enforcement. We've all had the opportunity to read the letter from Chief Anderson. If this were merely an enforcement issue, we never would have heard the dozens, if not hundreds of stories we've all heard about the disturbing loss of quality of life in our residential neighborhoods, including Hope Gardens today and in the urban core where a number of constituents still live after 30 years and are suffering. And finally, preemption. We are not the General Assembly. If we do something that offends the General Assembly, they do reserve the right to preempt us. But we should not give them the satisfaction of doing their jobs for them. BL 2017-608 represents a compromise. It allows all types of short-term rentals throughout downtown, the Gulch, and mixed-use neighborhoods. I hope our peers around the corner understand this. Meanwhile, we have all lived with the current law to date. If this is truly an enforcement issue, then we should be able to continue to live with it. In short, if the state preempts, we have lost no ground. BL 2017-608 is a zoning bill. Returning to the issue of hotels, I don't want hotels on either side of my house. When I bought my house, our zoning code offered me confidence that I wouldn't. We ended that. I'm glad we defeated BL 2017-1015, which was my bill. We should pass BL 2017-608 to restore integrity to our zoning code. Thank you.
Councilor Lee Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I was involved back in the spring facilitating the first attempt at a working group of all stakeholders and have been studying this issue since then. I urged a last-ditch attempt at compromise this last week, and apparently that didn't work too well. What I'd like to do is share how my study of this has formulated my opinion in hopes that it may resonate with you. First of all, what is at stake and why did I urge compromise? Number one, if we don't pass any of the regulations tonight, we could lose pending ordinance protection and permits flow tomorrow. Number two, if we pass 608, we run the risk of preemption, although it is less stringent than Knoxville, Hendersonville, and Germantown. What happens to our neighborhoods while this litigation ensues? I think we know the answer to that. If we pass 937, we have neighborhoods that lose protection. Why did we implement the zoning regulations, and are they supported by federal law? Nuisance laws predate zoning laws and were designed to protect a negative effect on neighbors' properties from the ability of a government to regulate in order to ensure residents' health, safety, and welfare. California led with the first zoning ordinance in 1885, and then Congress implemented the Standard State Zoning Enabling Act, which, among other things, delegated power to zone and authorized subdivision regulations. The Supreme Court granted its official stamp of approval to local zoning powers when the Euclid, Ohio zoning regulations were challenged, and it has been consistent in its support of that decision since. So my takeaway is we do have precedent and authority to ensure the sanctity of one's home and one's neighborhood through zoning. Here's the one that gives me heartburn. Where is the consistency in our legislation? We defeated an owner-occupied hair salon. We defeated a home-occupied music studio, even though the neighbors were okay with it and came here to tell us so. At the same time, we were negotiating a compromise between the behemoth STR industry and neighborhoods to allow businesses and non-residents to purchase homes to use for the express purpose of renting to non-residents, not an accessory use, but is recognized by the STR industry a commercial use. We have standing legislation that allows non-owner occupied, a decision that prompted a wave of commercial use in a residential area. In section 1716.010 of our zoning code, among other things, it states that land use development standards are necessary because certain land uses are more unique or impacting than other uses in that same zoning district. My takeaway, are we blurring the lines between residential and commercial while we are trying to manage the disruptor that is STR? I believe that we should legislate from a position of consistency. I am afraid that we are not. Maybe we should allow owner-occupied, low-impact, home-based businesses. We do, and we don't. So what's missing? We need to retain council authority as a means of addressing specific aspects of land use control or development design that transcend conventional zoning district provisions, and creation of an enforcement department strictly geared to STR permit issuance, investigation, monitoring, reporting, and discipline that will go a long way to minimize the litany of problems reported to us. Ultimately, y'all, I had to look back again at why we zone, to protect neighborhoods. I had to look at what is at stake in the scenarios before us. 608 goes best to the heart of why we zone. It is still inconsistent, which is why I support the formation of the enforcement department and an overlay or a mechanism of zoning for us to manage land use through council authority. Thank you.
Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I rise as someone that in my heart wants to support 608. But in my head, I believe that if we pass 608 tonight, while it is not a ban on short-term rentals, many in the legislature will view it as such. And that I believe it is very likely that we could be preempted by the state legislature. The legislature passed a bill last year in the House. It just applied to Nashville. It stopped in the Senate Finance Committee last year and didn't receive a vote there. Last week or earlier this week, I'm not sure, I was told last night that the bill in the Senate has been moved out of Senate Finances and Senate Commerce, which is a totally different animal and a different committee makeup. And it's done that because I can only assume it's because of the state agreement as far as tax revenue. With sales tax, the state's going to collect it, and the tax portions of the bill have been taken out. Therefore, it only applied to the jurisdiction for Senate Commerce. So what could easily happen is if this bill passes tonight, it could be on a calendar next week. The week after that, it could pass the Senate floor. The week after that, it could be on the House floor and not have to go to another House committee. So before we have one or two more meetings, we could be preempted on this. That's why I would like to give 937 a chance. We've been preempted in at least six other areas that I can list off. Charter approval, local hire, non-discrimination, gas compression stations, ride sharing, and inclusionary zoning. I would like to handle all of Nashville's issues here in Nashville and not up the street. But we're forced, I believe, to deal with the political realities as they are, not as we wish they'd be. The state government has complete control under our state constitution and under state law to delegate and assign whatever authority they want to local government. In statute, counties and cities are political subdivisions of the state. Now, I know the bill last year only applied to Nashville, and there may be an equal protection case that can be made that you can't just apply it to Nashville, perhaps. But I know there are other bills and other statutes that are in effect today. They only apply to one or two communities. 937 is the only way to absolutely know for sure that we will not be preempted. I'm going to abstain on the vote on the bill because it's not something I'm against, but it's not something I can be for. Mr. Jameson, I have a parliamentary question. There is Amendment B. It is signed by just a member of council. Does that mean any member can bring it up?
It is available to any member.
I move we adopt Amendment B, which according to the summary, this amendment would extend the phase-out date from 2020 to 2025.
There's a motion to adopt Amendment B. Is there a second? There is a second. I have 6 council members seeking recognition. I'm going to leave that like it is. If you would like to be recognized on Amendment B, please raise your hand. Councilor Henderson.
I'd like to move Amendment B to the table, please.
Floor is yours.
Amendment B, colleagues, extends the phase-out period to 2025. I think the 3-year phase-out in 608 is fair and generous. And I think, we have had our community members come and speak to us about how urgent this concern is for them. We have all gone to the Planning Commission past midnight several times. We've all been here for public hearing. I think the time to address this issue and bring clarity to the community is now, and that 3 years provides ample time for those who would be affected by 608, namely being just the Type 2 operators. to work within that time frame as currently in 608. It is just the permit that we are phasing out. They retain their investment, the use of that investment, and thus I think 2025 is far too long, colleagues. That's 8 years from now. With that, I would move to table the Amendment B, please.
Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Mayor. Thank you, Council Member Henderson. I just saw the amendment yesterday, and I thought if nobody moves it, I'll move it, and we'll see how it goes. Because I want whatever we pass as a body to succeed. I don't want it to be preempted. I hope that I am wrong about the state legislature. Because I want for us in this room and the first floor to decide what is best for Nashville. And this amendment, I guess, I have my, guesses about how the vote will go on the bill. And if 608 passes, 937, I'm sure will be deferred for some length of time. So for this amendment, I guess is the last chance at a compromise. I understand that it's not a friendly amendment, but if the phase out is longer, perhaps the legislature won't view it as a ban, and we'll be able to keep it the way it is. Because once the legislature preempts us, it takes another bill to go through the state house and the state senate to undo that preemption. And there's no going back from it. So I'd ask that you vote no on the tabling motion so that we can vote on this amendment and approve it to give one last chance at a potential compromise. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Madam Clerk, if you'll open the machine. Anybody need an explanation? Councilman Elrod moved Amendment B, which extends the phase-out period, I guess, to 2025. Council Lady Henderson moved that to the table. So if you agree with Council Lady Henderson, you're going to vote yes. If you agree with Councilman Elrod, you're going to vote no. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine, tally the vote. I'm sorry.
18 against and 2 abstentions. 21 in favor.
All right. Councilor Henderson, you lost your place in line, but I am going to come back to you, okay? Motion carries. So Amendment B has been moved to the table. Councilor Lady Henderson, I'm gonna lose you here, so hit your button again. Councilor Lady Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I am now speaking bill as amended. So I urge everybody to support 608. You've been talking about preemption. So let's remember who preempted. It's not state legislature. It's powerful industry. We have been talking this 608 1 year. So as soon as 608 was filed, very next day, powerful industry went to the state and then moved the bill in the state house. How can they do that? Because they've been making the bill while we are thinking about trying to protect Nashville neighborhood. So the bill moved the house and amended, because even State House of Representatives, they could not vote for the preemption. So what they did, they passed this so-called short-term rental unit act only applied to Nashville. That's how they were able to pass it last year. And then when it moved to state senate, it was stalled. And what's happening right now? It moved up. Who moved? Somebody, powerful lobbyist, working for powerful Airbnb and HomeAway. So let's remember, our bill will allow owner-occupied short-term rental unit every area of our neighborhood. If you are owner-occupied, anybody can do that in any zoning district. But if you are in a residential zoned area, in your neighborhood, such as single home and duplex, we are only asking to phase out 3 years. Even phase out, we are saying if those operator is a good neighbor, let's find some solution to keep them as a good neighbor. Let's come up with overlay. So for that sense, 608 is the best compromise. Who cannot, support? Because we all are elected by your neighbor. And so, who do we listen to? Do we listen to lobbyists? Do we listen to powerful industry? Or are we listening to our neighbors and voters who sent us to do our job? So to me, decision is so simple. So let's regulate this 608 short-term rental as a zoning matter. I know we are in this mess, because we've been talking about short-term rental 2 years, 3 years. It was decided in a previous council. I'm sure, previous council member in your second term, so tired of talking about short-term rental. So are we, because I was talking, before I was elected about the short-term rental. So what I want to do is bring that short-term rental, regulate under zoning. So it will make it really simple. Any zoning area, if you are owner-occupied, you can continue your short-term rental as originally designed as home sharing model. But if you are commercial type of non-owner occupied short-term rental, please cannot come to in the middle of the neighborhood. But if you are a really good neighbor currently existing, let us find a way to help our neighbor. So for that, I ask you your support to pass 608 this evening.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. We have some information on our desk today, and District 6, when the original legislation was passed, was first out of the gate to be maxed out at the 3% cap for type 2s, and for the most part has held that, and I see in this that while District 6 has fallen behind another district in total number of short-term rentals, that District 6 still far and away leads the county in type 2 non-owner occupied. So it's no wonder that I have so many neighbors on both sides of this issue who have so much communication with me. I really wanted to respond to a couple of comments that I've heard from my colleagues. First of all, I wanted to respond to Councilmember Hurt talking about growth. Absolutely, in the East Nashville area, short-term rentals have brought a lot of tourists into our neighborhood who have supported a lot of our local businesses, and that can be a good thing. A lot of those business owners themselves will reflect that they would not want to live next to a party house either. And so there are places in our neighborhood where non-owner occupieds might be more appropriate than others, and the general consensus among folks who do not own, manage, clean, or market short-term rentals is that non-owner occupieds in residential zoning is a bad idea. When I hear from builders who come to me seeking feedback or approval of a zone change, citing the need for housing to address our housing crunch that we're having in Nashville, and then I look at their portfolio and find that a large number of their units are in fact short-term rentals and no one lives there, that's not a very convincing argument. So for 608 does address growth because it preserves our neighborhoods but still allows short-term rentals in areas where most people feel like they're more appropriate. I would actually even further point out that 608 is a compromise because it phases out non-owner occupied short-term rentals in R and RS zoning, but still allows it actually in RM. Personally, I'm bothered by that. Our affordability crisis primarily affects renters especially those who live in apartments. And so this still leaves on the table that kind of multifamily housing can be lost, can continue to be lost to type 2 short-term rentals. And so that still is something we're going to need to address as a city. 608 definitely is a compromise in that regard as well. I also would like to speak to Council Member Elrod's commentary with regard to potentially being open to more time. I have stated on the floor to some of my constituents who own type 2s that I'm willing to have a discussion about more additional time or even indefinite renewal of type 2 permits. Not new ones, but the existing ones. I was willing to consider that. I filed a bill that had 2 public hearings on that topic, and I was really interested to see that bill that would allow indefinite renewal of existing type 2s received virtually no support, a huge amount of opposition, but virtually no support even from the owners themselves. I was really surprised by that. Therefore, based on that, it's not surprising that that bill has not received a lot of support in the council. We need to listen to folks. So listening to the general public at our public hearings and even listening to a lot of my council members, I'm not certain that that solution is a good one. For those who were interested in my bill 981, based on the feedback that I've heard from neighbors and from the public hearings, I don't hear support for 981, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote for 608. Thank you very much.
Councilman Pardue.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're on Bill 608 as amended with amendments A and D, correct? I assume it's going to be unanimous. Madam Clerk, if you'll open the machines. I'm not going to let them do the previous question, the reconsideration. I'm going to move right on. If you'll close the machine. I think that's everybody, right?
25 in favor, against.
Motion carries. BL 2017-893, Swope and Blaylock changes 15.1 acres from R40 to SP zoning for property located at Edmondson Pike unnumbered, northwest corner of Edmondson Pike and Cloverland Drive to permit an assisted living facility. Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednay.
The Amazing Planning Committee approved the 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Swope.
And move approval with a brief comment.
Floor is yours.
This is much less controversial than anything else we're considering tonight and will be the first public park in District 4. So I ask for your approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-916. Councilman Hastings changes .27 acres from CL to MULA zoning for property located at 2006 South Hamilton Road. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committees in.
Councilman?
Yes, sir. With all committees reported in for approval, I would like to move for approval.
Councilman Bednay.
The Planning Committee recommended approval 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir. Would like to move for approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-917, Council Lady Haywood changes 18.04 acres from CS and RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 3474 Dickerson Pike and Dickerson Pike unnumbered west of Old Due West Avenue to permit the development of up to 267 multifamily units, clubhouse associated amenities, and up to 15,000 square feet of commercial space along Dickerson Pike. Councilor Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I call for the committee report.
Councilman Bednay.
Planning recommended approval 14-4-0 against.
I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Bill 2017-921, Councilman Hastings, changes 0.29 acres from RS10 to OR 20A zoning for property located at 2000 South Hamilton Road. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice Mayor, would like committee reports, please?
Councilman Bednang.
The committee recommended approval, 13-4-0 against.
Thank you, sir. Would like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-937, Councilman Schulman. Allen and Vercher amends the Metro Code to establish regulations regarding short-term rental properties and distinct land uses for short-term rental property owner-occupied and short-term rental property not owner-occupied. Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
Yes, the committee recommended disapproval, 13-3-4-8 against, 1 not voting, and this is as amended with A and C.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Schulman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would move to defer this indefinitely with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Vice Mayor. All I simply wanted to do is say I appreciate the hard work of the ad hoc committee that was appointed. A lot of time was put into this. We talk about the 3.5 months. It was really about 5.5 months. A lot of effort was put in, a lot of time. So I very much wanted to say thank you to the people who worked on the committee, all the members that came, and I also wanted to thank all the people who came to the meeting and gave us input. I very much appreciate it, and with that, I would renew my motion.
Motion to approve to defer indefinitely is properly seconded. Council Lady Gilmore.
I just wanted to stand and just say I appreciate Councilmember Schulman's hard work, and I think he's just really, when it comes to the temperament, I admire your temperament, because I know that passions got kind of high yesterday, and you're just always able to keep your cool, and even though a lot of things were said, I just appreciate it, and I think a lot of people don't see sometimes here on the floor, we're on the floor, how much work goes into it. And sometimes the bills don't turn out the way that we want them to. But nevertheless, we all come from a good space, and it's a lot of hard work that goes into it. So I just really wanted to say I appreciate your hard work, and I recognize it if no one else does, but I think others do. So thank you.
Councilman Glover.
Actually, I think Council Lady Gilmore said it all. I think that Councilman Schulman should be congratulated for doing a tremendous job. I think a lot of names were called. I think a lot of bad things were said about him, and he has handled this as a total gentleman. And I congratulate you, sir. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Do you want to just briefly echo what's been said before? But again, as the council member with the most R&RS type 1s and type 2s, this is what I live every day in my district, and I really just applaud.
That wasn't me. There you go.
I applaud Councilmember Schulman for having the bravery and the fortitude to take that on, and welcome Councilmember Schulman to come out to District 6 anytime for any topic which has to be less controversial than that. So you're welcome to any of my District 6 meetings. Thank you so much.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. As one of the early co-sponsors of BL 2017-608, I have to stand and also support Councilman Schulman here. I know this was, of all bills and all issues that have come before this council while I've been serving, I can't think of something more difficult and probably more thankless. And Councilman Schulman was not out there looking for thanks. He was out there looking to do something that might work better for everyone. There's clearly still a lot of disagreement about what that is, even with 608 having passed, and I think this is the start of the conversation. I look forward to continuing that conversation with the chair of the ad hoc working group, so thank you, Mr. Schulman.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to echo the same sentiments also. Chair Schulman did an outstanding job in leading the ad hoc committee. He got a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, but he took it with stride. As so a lot of the other ad hoc committee members and the supporters of the 937. He did it with grace. He did it without complaint. And he did it with an understanding that at the charge of the vice mayor, we were trying to really look for solutions. We weren't trying to pit neighborhoods against the industry against neighborhoods, council members against council members, although that's what it ended up being. Councilman Schulman, I know a lot of us are standing in and echoing a lot of the same sentiments, but words cannot express what you endured during this process. I witnessed some of it, and it was not nice, it was not kind, and it did not represent the spirit of the city. But for me, it was an honor to sit beside you, to stand with you in this process, to advocate with you in this process, because I know your heart was in the right place. You answered a call, you answered a charge, you answered a duty. And a lot of people know, for me, duty means a lot, loyalty means a lot, and you did it better than anyone I've ever served with. And for that, man, I just love you.
Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I can only echo what everybody else has already said. It was an honor to serve with you on this ad hoc committee, Mr. Schulman. I would do so anytime, any place, anywhere. You did a fantastic job. And may I publicly state to all the supporters of 608, you have already sent us 10,000 emails in the past 7 days. You do not have to send us thank you emails. God bless you. We understand. Thank you.
Councilman Elrod.
Previous question.
There's a motion to defer indefinitely. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute BL 2017-975. Councilman Bednay. Changes 23.08 acres from SP to AR2A zoning for property located at 7224 Old Burkett Road. Councilman Bednay.
Yes, Vice Mayor. The committee reviewed this excellent legislation and recommended approval 13-4-0 against. And I move to approve.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-977, Council Lady Weiner. Changes 4.72 acres from RM20 to SP zoning for properties located at 7477, 7483, 7487, and 7501 Highway 70 South to permit up to 72 multifamily units with appropriate design standards. Council Lady Weiner.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
Committee recommended approval 13-4-0 against.
Council Lady Weiner.
I'd like to move the substitute. This is the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to move approval.
Motion to approve. Council Lady Haywood, are you seeking recognition? Oh, I'm sorry, Council Lady. You were too late. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Weiner, your bill has been approved.
Thank you. We can move to the next one.
Okay. All right. All right. BLT. Well, I'm going to give you a chance at the end, Council Lady. Don't worry. Don't worry. You got something good to say, you're going to get to say it. 2017-978, Council Lady Weiner. Changes 3.57 acres from ON to SP zoning for property located at 7505, 7513, and 7527 Highway 70 South to permit general office, medical office, and personal instruction uses. Council Lady Weiner.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
Committee recommended approval 13-4-0 against.
Council Lady Weiner.
Move approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-979, Council Lady Weiner cancels 8.29 acres of the Bellevue Commercial Planned Unit Development Overlay District for properties located at 7477, 7483, 7487, 7501, 7505, 7513, and 7527 Highway 70 South. Council Lady Weiner.
I would like committee reports, please, sir.
Councilman Bednang.
Committee recommended approval 13-4-0 against.
Council Lady Weiner.
All I'm going to say is after 2.5 years of this, I am thrilled to move approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-981. Councilman Withers. Amends Metro Code to establish distinct land uses for short-term rental property owner-occupied and short-term rental property not owner-occupied, and establishing a renewal allowance for existing permitted uses. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports, please?
Councilman Bednang.
Absolutely. The committee recommended disapproval, 9 against, 0 for.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move for indefinite deferral.
There's a motion to defer indefinitely. It's properly seconded. Council Lady Allen. You sure?
Yes, because it got called for question on the bill that I did want to speak on. I just want to take the opportunity to also thank all the people that have participated in the ad hoc committee, which includes Councilmember Withers, who was a stalwart assistant member, and I appreciate the work that he did. And this also attempt that we were all working for solutions, and I appreciate the effort that everyone put into that. And I just want to be able to say that too. Thank you.
It's a motion to defer indefinitely. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BO 2017-982, Councilman Withers. Amends the Metro Code regarding a short-term rental property, owner-occupied uses in two-family dwellings. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports,
Councilman Bednang.
The committee recommended disapproval of both the legislation and the second substitute, 5 against, 3 for, and 1 abstention.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move for withdrawal with a brief comment. And the brief comment is that I believe, it's my understanding that many of the intentions of this bill have actually already been added to 608 through an amendment that this council adopted. And for that reason, this would be redundant legislation, and I would like to withdraw it.
Bill is withdrawn. BL 2017-1004, Council Lady Vercher, applies an urban design overlay district to 27.69 acres for various properties along Payne Road, south of Reeves Road. Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Bednang.
Yes, the committee recommended approval as substituted, 14-4-0 again.
I'd like to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval as substitute.
Motion to approve the substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1015, Councilman O'Connell amends 3.92 acres of a specific plan by replacing 3 multifamily units with 4,000 square feet of non-residential space on properties located at 1390 and 1400 Adams Street. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports,
Councilman
please.
Bednang.
Committee recommended approval, 13-4-0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1016, Councilman Pulley changes .43 acres from RM20 to SP zoning for property located at 2041 Overhill Drive to permit 5 multifamily residential units and a medical office use. Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
Yes, the committee recommended approval, 11-4-3 against.
Councilman Pulley.
I move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1017, Councilman Syracuse changes 3.61 acres from IWD to SP zoning for property located at 910 Perimeter Court to permit a hotel. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
The committee recommended approval, 14-4-0 against.
Thank you. Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1018, Councilman Kendall changes .42 acres from RS5 to RM15A zoning for property located at 2700 and 2702 Torbett Street. Councilman Kendall.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednang.
The committee recommended approval, 13-4-0 against.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1019, Councilman Bednay. Changes .967 acres from AR2A to SB zoning for property located at 14899 Old Hickory Boulevard to permit a grocery store. Councilman Bednay.
So I'm asking for committee report, and then I'm saying I recommend, the committee recommend approval, 14-4-0 against, and then I make a motion to approve.
We don't need the, you just do it. There's a motion to approve. It's properly second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1020, Councilman Swope. Changes 3.48 acres from R15 to MULA zoning for property located at 6121 and 6135 Nolensville Pike. Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. It's good to see us laughing. Let's continue that. Move committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended approval, 14-4-0 against.
And with that, I move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1021, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes .48 acres from IWD to RM20A zoning for property located at 851 Cherokee Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended approval, 14-4-0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1022, Council Lady Karen Johnson. It changes 35 acres from CN and R20 to IWD zoning for property at 2737 Couchville Pike. Council Lady Karen Johnson.
Committee report.
Councilman Bedning.
The committee recommended approval, 14-4-0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Move for approval, Vice Mayor.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
BL 2017-1024, Councilman Scott Davis changes .55 acres from IWD to RM20A zoning for property located at 828 Cherokee Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended approval, 14-4-0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1025, Council Lady Weiner changes .43 acres from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 5923 Robertson Avenue to permit up to 5 multifamily residential units. Council Lady Weiner.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended approval, 13-4-0 against.
Move approval.
This motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1026, Councilman Scott Davis changes 1.07 acres from RS 7.5 to RM20A zoning for property located at 627, 629, and 631 East Trinity Lane. Councilman Scott Davis. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, got to pay attention, don't I? There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended a deferral of one meeting, 14-4-0 against.
Councilman Davis.
I'd like to defer for one meeting, sir.
The motion to defer one meeting is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a problem? BL 2017-1028, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes 1.07 acres from RS 7.5 to RM20A zoning for properties located at
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
627, 629, and 631 East Trinity Lane.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney.
The committee recommended approval, 13-4-0 against.
Let's move for approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1032, Council Lady Weiner amends the Metro Code regarding beer permit application requirements and conditions. Council Lady Weiner.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1033, O'Connell, Bednar, and Elrod authorizes Spectrum Properties, Emory LLC, to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way at 818 18th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1034, Councilman Pulley, Bedney, and Elrod, authorizes Metro to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Valley Brook Road Stormwater Improvement Project for property located at 3421 Valley Brook Road. Councilman Pulley.
All committee reports in. I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1035, Councilman Syracuse, Bedney, and Elrod. Abandons existing sewer main and easements and accepts new water main for a fire hydrant, a sanitary sewer manhole, and any associated easements for properties located at 720, 724, and 728 Ermac Drive. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committee reports in. Move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1036, Council Lady Haywood, Bedney, and Elrod. Authorizes Metro to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Brick Church Pike Stormwater Improvement Project for property located at 4941 Brick Church Pike. Council Lady Haywood.
All committee reports are in. All committee reports are in. I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1037, Council Lady Van Reese, Bedney, and Elrod. Abandons existing sanitary sewer main, a sanitary sewer manhole, and easement to accept new sanitary sewer main, sanitary manholes, and easements for property located at 903 and 905 Curdwood Boulevard. Council Lady Van Reese.
With all committee reports in, I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Hang with me 1 minute, guys. Hang with me. I'm going to go back to Council Lady Weiner. On 1025, council members, apparently there was an amendment that we failed to put on there. So Council Lady Weiner is going to move to rescind approval.
I would like to move to rescind approval.
There's a motion to rescind approval. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're now back on BL 2017-1025. Council Lady Weiner changes 0.43 acres from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 5923 Robertson Avenue to permit up to 5 multifamily residential units. Council Lady Weiner.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bedney, we've already got that in.
So we're good on that. I'd like to move the amendment.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. Are you seeking recognition, Council Lady Gilmore? Council Lady Gilmore.
If planning could explain to me what this does, this bill?
What the amendment does?
Mm-hmm.
The amendment specifies a specific type of street tree, cherry trees.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're now on your bill as amended.
I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Haywood, didn't you have something nice to say?
I did.
He has to listen. Ever since I've been a council member, I've worked under the tutelage of Council Member Jim Shulman, and he has been such a mentor to me and for me, and has made sure that I understood what it was that I needed to understand. And I just want to say thank you. And aside from that, I'd like to endorse everything that has been said this evening, with special emphasis on what Councilmember Erica Gilmore said. I'd like to strongly endorse what she said. And now, having said all of that, let's see here. Now that all votes are in, the Man of Valor Golden Globe Award winner is none other than Council at Large member Jim Shulman. Could we give him a hand?
Thank you.
Councilor Virtue, briefly. Okay.
I need that picture.
Council Lady Gilmore. Are you, okay. Council Lady Virtue. There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Want to remind colleagues that this Thursday, all seriousness, this Thursday, we will have our final joint budget and planning committee meeting to discuss and review the compiled scores that was submitted to the council regarding your CIB requests, and also to finally to determine the scoring method on which we're going to use. Make sure you put it on your calendars. We have a joint budget and finance, planning and zoning historical committee meeting this Thursday at 5 o'clock. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilman Schulman, briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I have a very long acceptance speech, but I know you're going to cut me off. Just one last thing. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for all the nice things. But this is all about council members working together, trying to come up with solutions, trying to take a very tough issue and bring it to some type of resolution. I hope we do this in the future, but thanks go to the Vice Mayor who actually said, let's try to work this out. So I just want to make sure that everybody remembers that it was the Vice Mayor.
It's my fault. Is that what you're saying? It's all my fault. Thank you,
No,
sir.
it's kudos for having the courage and the ability and the leadership, the true leadership to say, we have a problem, let's see if we can work it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glover, last one.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, so I have a day job just like you do, and we travel, we work, there's a lot of things we do. Is it possible we can start trying to do a calendar a little bit more than a week or 2 weeks in advance? I would appreciate that because I want to be a part of the conversation. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not, but I just wish we could be a little more
We'll do our best.
understanding.
Is there a
Thank you.
motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor? We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.